Step 10 is entering emergency equipment. In the previous step, we identified the emergency scenarios. So from these scenarios, you will need to identify what emergency equipment will be needed. You'll also need to look at your sites that you've entered, because they will need fire extinguishers, exit lights, smoke detectors, depending on their site. But also, you might need special emergency equipment depending on the site, relating to your activities, your plant items, and chemicals that you may use. If you have multiple sites, then you will need to enter these items for each and every site. Similarly for any other items depending on the site's emergency scenarios. But there is no need to enter each individual fire extinguisher or exit light into each site, as when maintenance or testing has been undertaken, they usually test and tag all at the same time. So all these emergency equipment items will need maintenance, and you will need to keep records of this maintenance. In this section, you will enter the emergency equipment needed for the business and enter the past and next maintenance dates. So let's enter an emergency equipment item. The emergency equipment register can be found in the policy and planning section. And as mentioned before, it links to the emergency procedures. You can add emergency equipment again in the top right hand corner. Very simple fields. You can enter your emergency equipment name. Remember, just make it a category, not every single item. Unless you've got different type of fire extinguishers that you want to actually refer to. You can relate them to a site. You can also relate them to an activity or a machine, and this is picking up your plant and equipment section. So if you have, for an example, trucks that need to have a first aid kit, you can actually relate it to the individual truck. You can also relate it to a checklist. You enter the previous maintenance date, so it's a good idea to go up and see when it was actually maintained last, enter that date inside here, and then obviously the next maintenance date due. And the person responsible. This will actually put it into that person's to-do list, but if you do want to set up an email alert, you can set up an alert to automatically alert you that this equipment needs testing and tagging. Once you've entered that item, it'll be put into the emergency equipment register. So it's a good idea not to relate things to the global site unless that's the only site in your system. If you're multi-site, it's a good idea not to relate any items to the global site. Just relate them to their individual site, as when each site logs into their system, they'll only see the emergency equipment relating to their site. So, select Next and let the system take you step by step in entering your emergency equipment.